Decades later, Amy Bradley's case is considered to be one of the most baffling missing persons cases in modern history.
Her father saw her at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. She was on the balcony, asleep, curled up outside their cabin as the Caribbean Sea passed beneath them and the sky above the water began its slow move toward dawn. He looked at her the way fathers look at sleeping children, that quiet, grateful look that doesn't need words. She was fine. She was right there. He went back inside. 30 minutes later, he came back. She was gone. Not gone from the balcony, gone from the ship, gone from a vessel in the middle of the ocean, surrounded by open water in every direction, with no land in sight and no way off, and yet gone. Completely, absolutely, impossibly gone. Her shoes were still there. Her cigarettes were missing. Her lighter was missing. And Amy Lynn Bradley, 23 years old, a college graduate, a girl who had been dancing until 1 in the morning with her brother and laughing with the ship's band and living the best kind of ordinary vacation night, was never seen by her family again. That was March 24th, 1998. 27 years have passed. The FBI is still working the case today. And in the Caribbean, in beach bars and brothels, and the whispered testimony of strangers who cannot unknow what they saw, the signal that Amy Bradley might still be alive has never fully gone dark. Because here is the thing that separates this case from almost every other disappearance you have ever heard. Amy Bradley didn't just vanish. She was reportedly seen, multiple times, by multiple people, in multiple locations, on a beach, on a street, in a cab, in a brothel, where a woman with her name and her tattoos and her voice grabbed a stranger by the arm and said, "Please help me. I am Amy Bradley. I am from Virginia. Please." And then the men around her pulled her away, and she was gone again. Today, we are getting on that ship. We are going to stand on that balcony at 5:30 inches the morning and understand exactly what Ron Bradley saw when he looked at his daughter for the last time. We are going to follow every sighting, every lead, every piece of evidence that points toward the darkest possible theory, that Amy Bradley did not fall overboard, that Amy Bradley did not choose to disappear, that Amy Bradley was taken, and that somewhere out there, she may still be waiting for someone to find her. This is Amy's story, and it is not over. Before we go to that balcony, before we stand on the rhapsody of the seas and watch the minutes tick toward the moment everything changed, you need to know who Amy Bradley was. She was born and raised in Petersburg, Virginia, the daughter of Ron and Ivor Bradley, older sister to her brother Brad, 21 at the time of the trip. By every account that exists of her, Amy was the kind of person who filled a room without trying. Athletic, warm, social. She had played sports her whole life, had the kind of physical confidence that comes from being genuinely, naturally good at things. She was a strong swimmer. She was outgoing. She was not the kind of person who wandered off alone into the dark without telling anyone. She had just graduated from college. The cruise was a celebration, a reward from her father's employer, an all-expenses paid trip to the Caribbean. Ron had won it as a work prize and brought the whole family. For Amy, the timing felt like the universe arranging itself correctly. She was done with school. She was about to start a new job. She had plans, a master's degree in sports psychology that she was working toward, a future that was beginning to take shape in the best possible way. She had one fear about the trip. She was nervous about the size of the ship, about being out on the open ocean with nothing but water in every direction. Her brother Brad had just come home from college for the vacation, and his presence helped settle her. They would be together. She would be fine. She boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas on March 21st, 1998, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The ship was bound for Aruba and then Curacao, a Dutch Caribbean island that most Americans have never heard of and would struggle to place on a map. 7 days at sea, sun, food, music, family. Everything a celebration is supposed to be. For the first 3 days, it was exactly that. Amy had a full-time job at home waitressing at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, but on this trip she had let herself decompress completely. She ate, she laughed, she stayed up late, she danced. On the night of March 23rd, the night before she disappeared, she and Brad went to the ship's onboard nightclub. They danced for hours. The ship had a live band called Blue Orchid, and Amy ended up spending time with the band members that night. She was dancing, talking, being entirely herself. One of the band members, a man named Alistair Douglas, was seen with her repeatedly through the evening. Around 1:00 the morning, the last confirmed sighting of Amy by someone outside her family occurred. A band member saw her at approximately that time. Brad and Amy then made their way back toward the cabin area together. Somewhere after that, in the quiet dark hours when the ship was at sea and most of its passengers were asleep, something happened to Amy Bradley. Her father saw her at 5:30, on the balcony, asleep. 30 minutes later, she was gone. The family's first moments after realizing Amy was missing were the kind of desperate, disbelieving chaos that families in those situations describe the same way every time. The refusal to accept what the evidence is telling you, the checking of every possible explanation before allowing the worst one to enter the room. Maybe she went to get food, maybe she went to find a friend, maybe she was somewhere on the ship and simply hadn't come back yet. Ron and Ivor checked the cabin. Brad went looking. They asked at the front desk. They started to move faster, with more urgency, as the minutes accumulated and Amy did not appear. And then, they made the request that, in retrospect, may have been the most critical moment of the entire case, and the moment that was most catastrophically mishandled. The Bradley family asked the ship's crew to keep the Rhapsody of the Seas out at sea, to not dock, to not allow passengers to disembark, to lock the ship down until their daughter was found. The crew denied the request. The ship docked in Curacao as scheduled, passengers disembarked. Hundreds of people flooded off that vessel and onto the island before any serious organized search had begun. The critical window, the hours when evidence could be preserved, when witnesses were still present, when Amy or whoever had Amy was still potentially traceable, was lost. By the time the Netherlands Antilles Coast Guard began a formal search of the surrounding waters, the ship had already opened its doors to the Caribbean morning. The Coast Guard searched for 4 days. They found nothing, no body, no clothing, no sign whatsoever that Amy Bradley had gone into that water. The initial official theory, the one the cruise line appeared comfortable with, the one that required the least investigation, was that she had fallen overboard, or jumped. An accident, or suicide. Her family rejected this completely, with fury, with absolute certainty. Amy was a strong swimmer. She was not suicidal. She had no history of depression, no signs of distress on the trip, no reason on earth to climb over a ship's railing in the middle of the night. She had been dancing 3 hours earlier. She had been laughing. She had a master's degree to pursue and a new job to start and a brother she loved and parents who were 20 feet away in the same cabin. Ron Bradley has said, over 27 years of fighting this case, that the cruise line's willingness to accept the overboard theory without truly investigating any other possibility is one of the great failures of the entire investigation. He is not wrong, and the evidence that emerged in the months and years that followed would give his fury a very specific, very dark shape. 5 months after Amy vanished, August 1998, 2 Canadian divers, David Carmichael and a friend, were spending time on Playa Porto Marie, a beach on Curacao. They were locals of the diving community, people who knew the island. And as they sat on that beach, they saw a woman. She had tattoos, specific distinctive tattoos that the FBI had included in every missing persons flyer distributed about Amy Bradley. A Tasmanian devil holding a basketball on her shoulder, a sun on her lower back, a Chinese symbol on her right ankle, a lizard on her navel. The woman on that beach had all of them. She was with 2 men. The men were watching her. Not casually watching her, the way people watch something they do not want to lose control of. When Carmichael spoke English within earshot of the woman, the moment she heard a familiar language from a world she recognized, she turned and began to move toward him. One of the men immediately steered her away. She was gone before Carmichael could say a word to her. He said later, on the record, to investigators and to Amy's family, "I am haunted by that encounter with Amy. I know it was her." He flew to Virginia. He met Ron and Ivor Bradley in person. He told them what he had seen, and the FBI investigated the sighting and could not corroborate it. But Carmichael has never changed his story, not once in 27 years. That woman on the beach was Amy Bradley. He is certain of it. And then January 1999. A United States Navy petty officer named William Hefner was on Curacao. He visited a brothel, and inside that place, a woman approached him, a Caucasian woman. She sat down near him, and she told him her name. Amy Bradley, from Virginia. She begged him for help. She said she needed to get out. She was frightened, and she was asking a stranger in a brothel to help her the way a person asks for help when they have run out of every other option. And then the men around her intervened. She was pulled away. She was gone. Hefner reported the encounter to the FBI. Investigators went to the brothel. It had burned to the ground. Not recently, not conveniently, burned, gone. Evidence, if there was evidence, destroyed. The FBI investigated. They could find nothing to substantiate what Hefner had reported. But Hefner, like Carmichael before him, has never changed his account. He knows what that woman said to him. He knows what her eyes looked like when she said it. He knows she was scared. I need to stop here for a moment, right here, because we have reached the part of Amy Bradley's story where the weight of it becomes almost unbearable. Think about what these sightings mean, if they are real. Think about what it means that a woman with Amy's face and Amy's tattoos was seen on a Caribbean beach being steered away from a stranger. That a woman who said she was Amy Bradley, from Virginia, sat in a brothel and begged a Navy officer for help. If those accounts are accurate, if even one of them is accurate, then Amy Bradley was not lost at sea. She was not gone. She was alive. She was being held. And she was trying, in whatever small moments of access she was given to the outside world, to send a signal. Please, help me. I am Amy Bradley. Please, subscribe right now. Hit that notification bell. Leave a comment below. Tell me whether you think Amy is still alive. Tell me what you think happened on that ship in the hours between 1 and 5:30 inches the morning. Tell me what the Navy officer's account does to you when you really sit with it. Share this video, because Amy's family has been fighting for 27 years, and every share is one more person who knows her name, one more signal, one more chance that someone somewhere sees this and finally says what they know. We are not done, because the evidence that emerged after those sightings and the new developments that are happening right now in 2025 and 2026 take this case somewhere even darker and more urgent than anything that came before. In 2005, 7 years after Amy disappeared, her family received an email that broke something open in a case that had been slowly going cold. A photograph had appeared online, posted on an adult website in the Caribbean. The image showed a young woman advertising sexual services. The woman in the photograph had Amy Bradley's face, or something so close to it that the people who knew Amy best, her family, the investigators who had spent years with her photograph, could not dismiss it. The FBI pursued the lead. They analyzed the image. They could not confirm it was Amy. They could not confirm it was not. The photo disappeared from the website. The trail went cold again. But it added another layer to the theory that had been building since those first sightings on Curacao, that Amy Bradley had been trafficked. That someone on that ship, or someone connected to that ship, had targeted her during that final night of dancing, had seen her, had chosen her, had made a plan. The theory goes like this. In the hours between 1 and 5:30 inches the morning, Amy was still awake, or was woken. She was seen on an elevator with Alistair Douglas, the band member she had been dancing with, by 2 other women, who later came forward as witnesses. 2 women saw them together in that elevator at approximately 6:0 inches the morning, after Ron had already noted his daughter asleep on the balcony, after the time she was supposed to be safe. Douglas was interviewed. He denied any involvement. He was never charged with anything, but the sighting in that elevator has never been explained. And the connection between a band member with regular access to the ship and a young woman who spent the night of her disappearance in his company has never been resolved. The theory among investigators and the Bradley family is that Amy was moved off the ship before it docked. That the request to keep the vessel at sea, the request the family made and the crew denied, was the only thing that could have stopped it. And that by the time the gangway came down and the passengers streamed off into Curacao, Amy was already gone, already beyond the jurisdiction of the cruise line, already in the hands of people who had been doing this for a long time, in a part of the world where young women disappeared without consequences, and nobody in authority was asking hard enough questions. Maritime law made investigation almost impossible. The ship operated under Norwegian registry. The disappearance occurred in international waters and then in Dutch Caribbean jurisdiction. The FBI had involvement, but no primary authority. The cruise line had every incentive to promote the overboard theory and close the file. And the key early hours, the hours when evidence might have been preserved and witnesses might have been secured, had been lost the moment that ship docked on schedule. 27 years is a long time to carry a missing child. Ron and Iva Bradley have carried it every single day since March 24, 1998. They have given interviews. They have appeared on America's Most Wanted. They have spoken to Dr. Phil. They have worked with private investigators. They have flown to Curacao. They have sat in rooms with FBI agents and cruise line lawyers and journalists and online sleuths and anyone who might have a single piece of information that moves the needle. There is an IP address identified by internet investigators that logs into forums related to Amy's disappearance on specific dates, key anniversaries, birthdays. The address traces to Barbados, approximately 650 miles from Curacao. Someone in that part of the Caribbean has been checking in on Amy Bradley's case for years, on days that matter, from a location that fits the geography of where Amy was reportedly seen. Nobody has ever confirmed who that person is. In 2023, a hit was recorded on the Amy Bradley is Missing website from a public computer inside a casino in the Caribbean. The Bradley family's private investigator followed up with the casino's general manager directly. The investigation is still ongoing. And then July 2025, Netflix released Amy Bradley is Missing, a 3-part documentary series that put Amy's face and Amy's story in front of every subscriber on the largest streaming platform in the world. The family hoped it would reach someone who had been sitting on information for years and needed a reason to speak. It worked. 3 significant new leads emerged after the documentary aired. 3 leads that investigators described as very significant. A female bar server from the cruise ship came forward, someone who had been on the Rhapsody of the Seas that night and corroborated for the first time that Amy was trafficked off the boat. Her account placed specific people in specific locations and confirmed a theory that the family had been building for over 2 decades. The FBI began interviewing 2 persons of interest connected to a trafficking ring operating in the Caribbean, a dominant group, according to the documentary's director, who told The Hollywood Reporter that investigators may have identified who was responsible: a cab driver and a person with connections to law enforcement on the island. People who had been in proximity to Amy's reported sightings, people whose names had circulated in the case for years without anyone having enough to move on. In October 2025, a source came forward claiming that Amy Bradley may have had a child after her disappearance. Brad Bradley addressed this directly. They were aware of the claim, they were investigating it, and previous claims of children had been ruled out by DNA. But the family was taking it seriously. Because if Amy had a child, there is DNA, and DNA can find people. Podcast host Ethan Klein posted a $1 million reward for information leading to Amy being safely returned home. $1 million in 2025. 27 years after she disappeared from a balcony while her father was 30 feet away. The FBI has stated publicly and repeatedly, the case remains open. They are actively working it. There are leads. There is new evidence. There is technology available today that did not exist in 1998. And there is a family that has never, for a single day in 27 years, stopped looking. I keep coming back to Ron Bradley. To the moment he looked at his daughter sleeping on that balcony at 5:30 inches the morning, to the quiet of it, the sea below, the sky lightening above, his girl, right there, safe. He went back inside. He came back 30 minutes later, and everything that followed, 27 years of it, started in that 30-minute gap, in the space between seeing her and not seeing her. In the 30 minutes that changed his life, and Amy's life, and the lives of everyone who has ever heard this story and been unable to let it go. Amy Bradley would be 51 years old today. If she is alive, and there are people, serious people, investigators and witnesses, and her own family, who believe she may be, she has spent more of her life, wherever she is, than she spent in Petersburg, Virginia, growing up. More years gone than years lived at home. Her mother Iva once said that she believes Amy is still alive, that she has never been able to fully accept the alternative, that a mother knows, and she knows. If Amy is out there, if she is somewhere in the Caribbean, or somewhere beyond it, living a life she did not choose under a name she was given by someone else, she has been trying to send signals. The beach, the brothel, the website login on her birthday, someone who knew where to look, logging in on a day that meant something, from an island in the sea. Please help me. I am Amy Bradley. I am from Virginia. That is what she said to a stranger in a brothel in 1999, 26 years ago. If she said it once, she said it because some part of her still believed that the world was listening, that someone would hear her, that the signal would get through. We are listening, Amy. If you know anything, if you have ever known anything, if you are somewhere out there and you have access to the internet and you can hear this, the FBI tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. The family's website is amybradleyismissing.com. There is a $1 million reward. Your family has never stopped looking. Your father saw you on that balcony and he has never forgiven himself for going back inside. Come home. Please, subscribe to the Cold Case Signals. Ring that notification bell. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think happened on that ship. Tell me whether you believe the sightings. Tell me what 27 years of searching looks like to you. Share this video. One share. One more person who hears Amy's name. One more signal sent into the dark. We have more cases coming. More signals. More stories told the way they deserve, with depth, with truth, and with absolute respect for every woman at the center of them. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next one.